1. The world's illusion of power. In the modern world, power is often misunderstood. It is confused with control, dominance, wealth, or charisma. Society rewards those who speak the loudest, move the fastest, and gather the most followers. But this form of power is fleeting, anchored in appearances, dependent on external validation, and subject to constant fluctuation. True power, by contrast, is inward. It is stable, silent, and self-contained. Most people are addicted to motion, chasing pleasure, stimulation, and emotional extremes. They equate strength with excitement, believing that the louder the moment, the more powerful the presence. They seek laughter, tears, adrenaline, anything that keeps the mind in motion and the soul distracted. In this endless pursuit of emotional highs and novelty, they dissipate their energy, scatter their focus, and fragment their inner world. What is left is not strength, but exhaustion, not mastery, but dependency. True power is something else entirely. It does not shout, it does not crave. It is found in stillness, in restraint, in the unwavering calm of one who knows their own mind. This kind of power requires sacrifice, the willingness to forego temporary pleasure for lasting peace. It demands patience, the ability to endure discomfort without reaction, and to build something slow and strong over time. Because these qualities are rare in the modern age, so too is real power. It is easier to be reactive than disciplined, to indulge emotions than to govern them, to grasp than to wait. And so, the world idolizes the illusion of power while dismissing the quiet nobility of those who have truly mastered themselves. Yet it is the self-mastered soul who shapes destiny, not through force, but through presence. While others are tossed by the winds of change, this one stands firm, calm, compassionate, and unshakable. For real power, once awakened, needs no audience. It simply is. 2. True power versus animal passion. In the modern world, power is often mistaken for domination, aggression, or the sheer force of will. Loud voices, bold gestures, and unrelenting ambition are confused with inner strength. But these traits, when ungoverned, stem not from true power, but from the realm of animal passion, untamed, instinctive, and reactive. True power lies not in the ability to conquer others, but in the capacity to master oneself. Animal passion is raw and impulsive. It is the surging of unfiltered emotion, anger that lashes out, desire that consumes, and fear that drives irrational behavior. These impulses have their place in survival, but when they govern a human being, they reduce life to reaction rather than reflection. A man ruled by passion may appear powerful in moments of fury or dominance, but his strength is borrowed from chaos. It burns hot, then quickly fades. He becomes like a fire without control, destructive, directionless, and ultimately empty. True power, by contrast, is quiet, stable, and enduring. It does not erupt but radiates. It comes not from indulging passion, but from understanding and transmuting it. The truly powerful person feels deeply, but is not ruled by emotion. He experiences anger, but responds with clarity. He may feel fear, but he does not flee. Instead, he stands firm, guided by principle rather than impulse. This strength is cultivated through conscious self-discipline. It requires the ability to pause, reflect, and act from wisdom rather than instinct. In this way, the mind becomes the commander of the body, and higher consciousness governs base desire. This is not repression, but refinement. Like a river channeled through a narrow stone bed, inner force becomes focused and potent, no longer wasted in chaotic overflow. The difference is stark. The animal lashes out when wounded. The sage absorbs the pain, learns from it, and acts with precision. The undisciplined seek power over others. The wise seek power over themselves. One is rooted in pride, the other in purpose. This form of strength, measured, calm, and grounded, is rare because it cannot be purchased, borrowed, or faked. It requires patience, sacrifice, and ongoing self-awareness. It demands that the ego be humbled and that one's lower nature be brought into alignment with higher truth. When a man masters himself, he becomes a stabilizing force in a chaotic world. His words carry weight, not because he shouts, but because his presence is anchored in something deeper. His power does not come from suppression, but from transformation. He has not rejected passion, but elevated it, turning fury into courage, desire into devotion, and fear into wisdom. Such a man no longer needs to prove his strength, for he is strength. In stillness, he is a mountain. In motion, he is a river. And in all things, he remains free, not because he controls the world, but because he controls himself. This is true power. 3. The role of principles. In a world where shifting opinions, emotional reactions, and personal agendas often dictate behavior, true power is found in the unwavering foundation of principles. Principles are the eternal laws that govern the moral and spiritual fabric of life. Truth, love, purity, compassion, justice, and humility. They are not created by man. They are discovered through introspection, spiritual practice, and the sincere desire to live rightly. Real power does not arise from the ability to manipulate circumstances or dominate others, but from steadfast alignment with these principles. A person who lives by truth cannot be shaken by falsehood. One who is rooted in love cannot be corrupted by hatred. These inner qualities form the unbreakable foundation of character, and character is the true measure of strength. The man of principle is not ruled by impulse or emotion. While others react in anger, he responds with clarity. When others seek revenge, he chooses forgiveness. He may feel temptation, but he does not yield. He may experience hardship, but he does not abandon his values. In this way, he becomes unshakable, not through rigidity, but through rootedness. Like a deep-rooted tree, he bends in a storm but does not break. On the other hand, the one who is led by desire, pride, or fear is easily swayed. His convictions change with convenience. When praised, he is elated. When criticized, he is crushed. He seeks validation from others and sacrifices integrity for approval. This is not power, it is dependency. And anything dependent is vulnerable. Principles, unlike emotions or opinions, are not subject to personal preference. They demand sacrifice. To live by truth means to speak honestly even when it costs you. To live by compassion means to forgive when you have every reason to resent. To live by purity means to discipline your thoughts and actions, even in the absence of witnesses. This path is not easy, but it is empowering. The disciplined mind becomes a vessel through which higher laws operate. Such a person is no longer limited by fluctuating moods or external conditions. He lives from a center that does not move. This constancy is what makes him trustworthy, powerful, and free. Even in silence, his presence carries weight. His life, lived in quiet fidelity to principle, becomes a force of transformation. Indeed, the great spiritual teachers and sages throughout history, whether Christ, Buddha, Socrates, or others, did not amass power through wealth or control, but through unwavering adherence to eternal truths. Their strength did not waver even in the face of death. Why? Because their power was not derived from the world, but from their inner alignment with what is highest and truest. In a world filled with noise, distraction, and illusion, the principled life is radical. It is countercultural, yet it is the only path to lasting influence and true inner peace. When the soul aligns with the eternal, it becomes unshakable, radiant, and whole. This is the role and the reward of principles. For crisis is the test of power. True power is not measured in times of ease, but in the crucible of crisis. When life moves smoothly, it is easy to appear composed, wise, or principled. But it is in moments of real hardship, loss, betrayal, injustice, or danger that the inner strength of a person is revealed. Crisis strips away illusions. It burns off the pretense and reveals what lies at the core of a human being. Whether it is fear or faith, impulse or discipline, ego or principle, the person who lives for comfort, pleasure, or reputation will crumble when these are threatened. To him, the loss of material security, social approval, or bodily well-being feels like the end of the world. His stability was built on external things, on shifting sands. But the person rooted in higher principles remains unmoved. He does not measure life by gain or loss, pleasure or pain. He measures it by truth, love, justice, and the integrity of his own soul. Such a person does not fear the loss of possessions, status, or even life itself, for he sees these as temporary and secondary. What he fears, if he fears at all, is the loss of his inner compass, the betrayal of truth, the compromise of conscience. While others panic, he reflects. While others blame, he seeks understanding. While others retreat, he may quietly advance. He draws strength not from circumstances, but from within. History and spiritual tradition are rich with examples. Prophets who stood alone against empires, reformers who endured exile, mystics who suffered imprisonment or death rather than renounce their vision. What made them powerful was not force or followers. It was the unshakable alignment between their thoughts, words, and values. Crisis did not break them. It proved them. For the seeker of true power, every trial becomes a test, not of survival, but of character. The question is never, how do I escape this? But rather, how can I respond to this with dignity and truth? In this way, crisis becomes a refining fire. It reveals weakness only to invite strength. It exposes fear only to awaken courage. And above all, it offers the opportunity to live, not from self-interest, but from principle. Thus, real power is not the ability to control the world, but to remain inwardly free, even when the world collapses. It is not loud or boastful. It is silent, grounded, and enduring, and it is most visible when everything else falls away. Five, spiritual power and love. Spiritual power is the highest form of strength a human being can attain, not through domination or external achievements, but through deep inner harmony with eternal principles. Unlike worldly power, which is often unstable, ego-driven, or short-lived, spiritual power is rooted in self-mastery, humility, and love. It arises from the soul's alignment with truth and the continuous refinement of character. At the center of true spiritual power lies divine love, not emotional affection or sentimentality, but a force of pure goodwill, creative intelligence, and unwavering compassion. This love is impartial, unconditional, and transformative. It flows from the realization that all beings are united in spirit, and that to harm another is to harm oneself. Such love is not passive or weak. It is courageous, discerning, and often silent, acting as a stabilizing and healing influence in a chaotic world. To cultivate this power, one must commit to consistent inner work. Meditation, contemplation, prayer, and self-inquiry become daily disciplines, not to escape the world, but to return to it with clearer vision and a stronger heart. As one meditates on divine love, the darker elements of the psyche begin to surface: selfishness, pride, envy, fear. These are not to be denied or repressed, but acknowledged, understood, and lovingly transmuted. This process is not instant. It requires patience, honesty, and a fierce love for truth. Over time, the seeker develops greater clarity. Their inner reactions soften. Judgments fall away. Forgiveness becomes more natural. The ego's grip loosens, making space for wisdom. Eventually, spiritual power reveals itself not in grand declarations or miraculous feats, but in the quiet integrity of daily living, in the choice to speak kindly, to endure difficulty without bitterness, to give without expectation, to remain calm in the midst of conflict. A person who has cultivated spiritual power radiates presence. Their mere being uplifts others. They do not need to convince or argue. They embody the truth they serve. They listen more than they speak. They hold space for healing. They become a lamp in the darkness, a mountain in the storm. Not because they are perfect, but because they have devoted themselves to becoming inwardly true. In this way, spiritual power and love become inseparable. Love gives power its purity. Power gives love its effectiveness. Together, they forge a character that is both tender and unshakable. The individual who reaches this stage does not seek applause or recognition. They live for something greater, to be a vessel of truth, a servant of light, and a quiet force for good in the world. Ultimately, the measure of spiritual power is not how much one can influence others, but how deeply one has transformed oneself. The world may not always understand or reward this path, but in the unseen realms, in the inner sanctum of the soul, it is the highest achievement to embody divine love and to live from it in thought, word, and deed. 6. Self-control, patience, and equanimity. True power is not loud, forceful, or aggressive. It is inwardly calm, quiet, and disciplined. It does not need to assert itself, because it is rooted in something deeper than circumstance or emotion. Self-control, patience, and equanimity are the defining traits of such power. They serve as the invisible armor of the wise, allowing a person to move through life's challenges without being shaken by praise or blame, pleasure or pain. Self-control is the foundation. It is the ability to choose one's responses rather than react impulsively. A person without self-control is at the mercy of every passing emotion, every external stimulus. Their peace depends on conditions, their clarity clouded by cravings or fears. But the one who governs their thoughts and emotions possesses a rare strength. They do not suppress or deny what arises within, but neither do they allow anger, desire, or fear to dictate their actions. They become the master of their inner kingdom. Patience is self-control extended over time. It is the quiet strength that endures discomfort, delay, or difficulty without agitation. The impatient person wants immediate resolution, immediate reward, but the patient person trusts the process. They understand that growth, healing, and the unfolding of life all take time. Patience is not weakness or passivity. It is an expression of faith, rooted in the understanding that everything meaningful develops through perseverance. Equanimity, the crown jewel of these virtues, is the state of inner balance. It is the calm center that remains undisturbed amid the chaos of life. To possess equanimity is to remain steady whether one is praised or insulted, succeeding or failing, surrounded by noise or silence. It is the ability to maintain composure and clarity when others are losing theirs. This stillness is not indifference. It is a deep acceptance of life as it is, paired with the unshakable resolve to live with integrity regardless of circumstance. Together, these three virtues offer true inner freedom. They allow a person to hold the independence of solitude, even while standing in the midst of a crowd. They free the individual from the need to control others, or to be validated by them. When self-control, patience, and equanimity are firmly established, the outer world loses its power to disturb. The individual is no longer ruled by the rise and fall of opinion, pleasure, or status. Instead, they are rooted in being. This state is not achieved overnight. It is cultivated gradually, through repeated inner work and conscious reflection. It requires the willingness to sit with discomfort, to delay gratification, to observe the mind without judgment. Each moment of stillness in the face of anger, each pause before speaking, each act of restraint in the midst of temptation, these are the quiet victories that strengthen the soul. In a world that celebrates noise, speed, and constant reaction, the person of self-control, patience, and equanimity appears as a rare and powerful presence. They do not need to dominate to influence. Their presence alone is a calming force. They uplift not through persuasion, but by example. Ultimately, these qualities are not just tools for managing life. They are expressions of a deeper realization that the source of peace and power lies within. To live with self-control, patience, and equanimity is to live in alignment with one's highest self. It is to embody the still, silent strength that no storm can move. 7. Walking alone on your own light. True power is not loud. It does not shout to be seen, nor does it beg for approval. It is often quiet, solitary, and deeply rooted in the soul. To walk the path of true inner strength, one must be willing to break free from the hypnotic pull of convention, the comfort of popular opinion, and the fleeting warmth of external praise. It means daring to follow your conscience, even when it leads you down a lonely road. The world rewards conformity. It praises those who fit the mold and punishes those who step beyond it. But spiritual power requires a deeper allegiance to truth, not trend, to inner knowing, not outer validation. This is not the easy path. To walk in your own light often means walking in darkness first, lit only by the fragile flame of faith and integrity. You may be misunderstood. You may be mocked. You may even doubt yourself. But still you walk. This journey is filled with trial. You will stumble. You will fall. You may carry wounds that others cannot see or understand. Yet every fall teaches. Every scar becomes a mark of your authenticity. For as you walk alone, you learn that strength does not come from being followed, but from continuing forward when no one follows. To walk alone in truth is not to walk in isolation. It is to walk in unity with the deepest part of yourself, the divine spark within. That light is your compass. That voice is your guide. When all other lights go out, it remains. The truly powerful do not depend on popularity, nor do they fear rejection. They are self-possessed because they are self-aligned. Their peace is not based on outer harmony, but on inner coherence. They do what is right, not what is easy or accepted, because their loyalty is to something eternal. Those who walk in their own light often walk ahead of their time. They pave paths others will later follow, but they do not look back for applause. Their reward is not fame or comfort, but clarity of soul and the silent companionship of truth. Such is the cost and the crown of inner sovereignty. To walk alone, not arrogantly, but faithfully. To trust your light, even when the world cannot see it. To stumble, to rise, and to walk again, because your steps are rooted not in ego, but in essence. This is the path of all great souls, and it begins with a single decision, to walk forward, even when the path is your own. 8. The eternal and indestructible. True spiritual power is not momentary or circumstantial. It is rooted in eternal principles that do not change with time, public opinion, or worldly gain. The person who embodies such power is no longer swayed by praise or blame, pleasure or pain, victory or loss. Instead, they are grounded in the changeless realities of truth, compassion, integrity, and divine love. These qualities are not subject to decay or corruption, and one who lives in harmony with them becomes, like them, eternal and indestructible. Such individuals move through life with quiet dignity. They may face misunderstanding, hostility, or even persecution, but they remain calm and composed. Their peace is not the fragile peace that relies on favorable circumstances. It is the unshakable stillness that comes from knowing the truth of their own soul. They have tasted the eternal, and once that taste is known, nothing in the world can unsettle them. Death loses its terror and loss its sting. They are not immune to pain, but they are no longer controlled by it. Even in the midst of chaos, they carry serenity like a lantern through darkness. This inner indestructibility is not the result of pride or emotional suppression, but of deep realization. The spiritually awakened understand that their essence is not the body, not the fleeting thoughts, not the personality, but the witnessing consciousness behind all experience. They no longer identify with temporary roles or possessions. In surrendering their smaller, separate self, they discover the boundless self, one with all things, yet dependent on none. In every age, humanity has glimpsed such beings, saints, sages, and awakened ones who radiate peace even when the world crumbles around them. They speak gently but with authority. They do not seek to dominate, but their very presence uplifts and transforms. They walk in the world, but are not of it. Like the sun, they shine impartially. Like a mountain, they remain unmoved. To become like this is the highest goal of human life, not to escape the world, but to embody within it the immortal light of truth. It is to be in the fire without burning, to carry love in the midst of hatred, to stand for justice even when surrounded by injustice. It is not a path of ease, but of great reward. The soul that perseveres on this path becomes untouchable, not by isolating itself, but by becoming truly integrated with the eternal. When one no longer fears death or destruction, one becomes truly alive. This is the paradox of the spiritual path. By dying to the ego, we awaken to immortality. In living for the eternal, we become indestructible. This passage speaks profoundly to the heart of the human condition. It reminds us that the trials we face, whether external or internal, are not punishments or mere misfortunes, but invitations to awaken, refine, and strengthen the soul. The storms of life, loss, criticism, temptation, rejection, test the substance of our being. In those moments, we discover whether we are built upon sand or upon rock. To stand firm amid such storms is not a matter of brute strength or defiance, but of alignment with higher, eternal principles: truth, love, justice, humility, patience. These are not ideals reserved for saints or sages. They are the inheritance of every soul willing to undergo the slow labor of self-mastery. They require us to look beyond temporary feelings and shallow approval, and to choose instead what is right, even when it costs us comfort or reputation. The metaphor of standing upon a rock amidst the winds of selfishness and fear is no mere poetic image. It is a spiritual directive. Real power is not noise or spectacle. It is not found in domination, argument, or wealth. It lies in the quiet clarity of a person who has conquered themselves, who walks by the light within, and who does not flinch before the darkness of the world. Ultimately, this reflection is a call to rise above reaction, to discipline the mind, and to become a bearer of light in a world that often confuses noise for truth and comfort for virtue. True power lies not in avoiding struggle, but in becoming transformed by it.